Welcome everybody, my name is Samantha Fahy and I'm the Sustainability Manager at DCU. Thank you to Antashka for asking me to come here, and I'm going to give a short presentation on what we have done at DCU to become a green campus. So the whole program that started in primary schools has gone to secondary schools, has now gone up to university campuses. The thing is they reckoned we were adults, and so that we had to do all of the flags at the one time rather than doing them one step at a time. So we had 2 years to do all the flags together. So in DCU, hold on, green, that's, this one? Okay, there we go. Okay, so in DCU, what we believe sustainability is it's a balancing of social, cultural, and economic. So at the moment, most of their decisions are based on, maybe I have to stand over here. No? Yes? Okay, so most decisions that we do are based on economics. So if you're going to the shop to buy a new top or a new outfit, you look at the cost of it. But if we really want to actually include and become a sustainable society, then we have to consider the environment when we're making our decisions, and we have to consider the entire society when we're making those decisions. What DCU has done is DCU has included into its strategy for the entire university that we would transform lives and societies through including a sustainability strategy. So we try and do it in absolutely everything we do. So in the operations of the campus, in our teaching and learning courses, and in our research and in our engagements with outside. This doesn't want to go on. Okay. Okay, go to the next slide. Sorry about this. I can't even remember what's on the next slide. Okay, so I think what's on the next slide is that we try to include it into everything we do. So we included in our teaching and learning. So DCU has recently established a United Nations Regional Centre for Expertise in Education for Sustainable Development. And like Michael John was saying earlier, the biggest part of, or a really nice part of the Green Schools programs is that you can actually work together with people. So our Regional Centre for Expertise is about working with primary schools and secondary schools and actually engaging with them on education for sustainable development. So one of the projects, for instance, that we're running with the secondary schools is... Okay, keep going. So one of the projects is mitigating disasters. So we try and look at what if the water level rose by 2 meters in an area around Ireland? So for instance in Dublin, what would happen if we rose water by 2 meters? What impact would that have? Who would it flood? And then we would ask students who are a little bit more innovative than people who have been in the environment for a long time. Okay, so we have this Regional Centre for Expertise, and we work with lots of different people around Dublin to actually run different projects. In our research, we have 4 major research activities in DCU. One of the 4 is looking at sustainable economies and societies. So now I'm going to just look at some of the energy, water, waste, biodiversity and transport initiatives that we did, and they might give you some ideas for your own schools on what to actually do. So DCU, as a public sector, has to reduce its energy consumption by 33% by 2020. And we're already a long way along the road to gaining that. One of the big projects we did was we worked with the students in the student centre in DCU. So we've got 14,000 students in DCU. And they have their own centre where they do stuff. And it was to work with them to reduce their energy needs. They've also now building a new research centre, or a new student centre, and they're looking to include into it energy saving mechanisms. One of the last projects that they did is they looked at last out, lights out. So it was empowering students so that when they left a room to turn off the lights. Now, we looked at how many lights we actually have in DCU, and we have over 100,000 lights in DCU. So the impact of just turning off a few of those lights is significant. So it's really important to be able to just turn off the lights. Another project we looked at was water. We have a swimming pool on the DCU campus, and we looked at the level of consumption of water in the swimming pool versus the water of consumption of the showers in the sports complex. And so we found 3,500 meters cubed of water was consumed per annum in the swimming pool. Any guesses for how much water was consumed by the showers? It was 48,000 meters cubed worth of water, so more than 10 times more water consumed in the showers. So when we're thinking about water, it's really important to consider how much water is needed to actually make something as well. So how much water does it take to make a hamburger? It takes 2.5 meters cubed of water. Meters cubed of water to make a hamburger. And an awful lot of that goes into growing the cow to make the beef, to make the hamburger. It takes a huge amount of water to actually consider this. Some of the stuff we do on DCU to try and mitigate against our water, to reduce our water consumption, is we have rainwater harvesting in our community garden. We have water filtration systems that we've got the research students to do to look at the water that's coming from the rainwater that's harvested to make it potable water. And there's lots of other different projects. Waste. So one of the first projects we did on waste is we got recycling bins. And we spent a whole year looking at the contents of these bins. So we had research students who would actually go out, take the bin bags out and go through the waste and see what was in there. Our biggest waste was coffee cups, but what the biggest output of it was that most people didn't know. They didn't know what to put in which bins. So we have run a big campaign on informing people as to what goes into which bins. Paper coffee cups became a big issue because we consume in DCU nearly 250,000 coffee cups a year. So these are the paper coffee cups which are non-recyclable. They've got a plastic film on the inside of them, and so every single one of them go to landfill, or they go to solid recovered fuel. But so we ran a program, so we brought in our own reusable coffee cups, and we completely sold them out in a very short period of time, and they've been a huge success for the students. The other one we did was, was water bottles, because plastic water bottles are very dangerous for the environment. People believe that they're the healthy option to take, so you buy a plastic water bottle, drink the water, and it goes into the trash, and it breaks down into small little particles. Those small little particles go down the drain and out to sea, and now we have more plastic in the sea than we do have fish. So we got the students to sit down and figure out what kind of a water bottle they wanted. So we didn't want to design it from a staff for a university perspective, so they came back and they said, we want a big DCU logo on it and we want some facts of what we're saving. So we got some water bottles in. They are €5 for sale in the Students' Union on campus, and the Students' Union drew a map of the full campus of all of the points across campus where you can get water for free. So you can have your money, rather than paying for plastic water bottles, you can fill your water bottle for free. The other one we're doing at the moment is paper on waste. So in a university, paper is a huge waste product that we produce all the time. But we are using the classes to actually look at technology to actually reduce the amount of paper people have to actually print. So this is a picture of DCU. I don't know whether people know where DCU is. It's in North Dublin, city centre, just outside, just in Glasnevin. This is it from about 1930. So DCU started its life as an agricultural college. And the people who came to DCU were primary school teachers and farmers. They taught the primary school teachers about new technologies and new innovations in farming, because that was the only way of getting the message out to farmers who were on the ground, because at that time, an awful lot of children didn't get past primary school, particularly if they came from a farming environment. So this is where DCU started its life. Now, this is completely, there's no green fields up and around DCU anymore. It's completely covered in houses and buildings and stuff. But what we've tried to do is to bring some of that back to the university. So we now have a 1.6 acre off-grid garden. So we look at biodiversity, and biodiversity being all of the natural environment that's working together, and then the importance is that they have to work together to create a sustainable environment for everybody. So we have a community garden, we have an apiary down the back. An apiary is where you keep bees. So we have honeybees down the back, and we're doing research projects on the honeybees to see if we can actually assess the value of the environment that they're living in if we just actually analyze the honey. We have assessed the entire biodiversity on the campus. So we have gone around the campus and measured how much space is covered with grass, how much space is covered with these plants, those plants, so that when we come back in a year's time, we can measure again and see. We have lots of food that is now produced down the community garden, and we use that food to bring it up to the main campus and into our canteens so that people get 0 carbon miles organic food in the canteens. Now, of course, it doesn't feed all of the students, but it does make some contribution. And we are hoping that we're going to get Grow Dome to come along, and Grow Dome is this big social enterprise which will grow lettuce for the entire campus down in the community garden. Lots of buzzy bees, as I was saying, and buzzy bees are really important because if we lose the buzzy bees, they say that because of the pollination effect of bees, we will have no food if we lose the buzzy bees. So it's really important to keep the bees. Community engagement is a huge part of what we're doing as well. So we work an awful lot with the schools in our local areas, both primary and secondary schools, and with the local employment schemes. So local communities to come in and teach people new skills, to have people who are in long-term unemployment work with students so they get cross-learning between the whole lot of them. So lots of the schools come in and build. They have their own plots on the actual garden itself. A little bit on transport. So these are some pictures I took off the internet. So I thought they were really interesting. So this is 200 people in 177 cars. This is those same people without their cars. This is those people on bikes. So it's gone from 5 lanes of full traffic down to 1 lane of bikes. We've now got those same number of people on 3 buses. And those people all on 1 tram. So you can imagine if we can move towards a more sustainable form of transport, and DCU is committing that 90% of our commuters will use a sustainable form of transport to come to DCU, we can not only reduce congestion and reduce emissions, but we can make life better for people. So we at DCU try to do stuff like there's free showers for everybody who walks or cycles to work. We have a free bike scheme between our campuses because we're moving from being a single campus to having 3 campuses in a 3-kilometre radius. So rather than having people drive cars around, we've put in place bikes so people can cycle around. We've got lots of information signs with the support of the National Transport Authority so that people can easily find out what time the next bus is at. We have more buses serving DCU, so we've recently had 2 new buses that have now started stopping on the campus itself, so it's much easier to get to DCU. So there's lots of activity from there to actually try and convince people to use a more sustainable form of transport. But one of our biggest challenges is to keep people engaged and to keep people knowing what we're actually doing all the time. So one of the things we have done with our Students' Union is rather than just having 1 green week in the year, we have a green day every month. We use a green day to do stuff like we'll do one before Christmas where people will actually get materials from the garden and make Christmas wreaths so they can bring them home to Mammy for a present. But it's all to highlight specific areas, so there'll be a transport day, there'll be a water day, we run movies to try and engage people on what they're doing. One of the biggest successes we've ever had is we had a competition between primary schools, secondary schools, and the 3rd level students in a water rocket competition. So we made a design for water rockets, so that's reusable plastic bottles. We took rainwater that was recycled from our community garden, and we got people to build their own rockets. And they brought them up to DCU, and we had a competition down the central mall of DCU to see who could fire their rockets the furthest. And it was the primary schools that won. So irrespective of the 3rd level students who went to the 3D printing machine and printed the nose cones and the fins on the back of it, it was the primary schools in their very, very simply based water rockets that actually won the competition and got it to go the furthest. But the whole idea was engagement, it was looking at recycling, it was looking at water waste and water use, and it was enjoyment, and it was having the fun of doing it. So if there was anything I could encourage people to do to engage in green campuses was to have fun with some of the projects you're doing. And that's it. Thank you very much.